former president of the South African Student Congress and former ANC National Policy Coordinator, conveyed his condolences to his family and loved ones. The NWC wished the Deputy Secretary General, Comrade Jesse Duarte, well in a continued recovery. It expressed appreciation and support to the Treasurer General, Comrade Paul Mashatile, who has been requested to assist the DSG in conducting the work of the Secretary General's office. On COVID-19, and as usual, the President briefed the NWC on the ongoing work of the National Coronavirus Command Council to contain the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic. It noted and supported the assessment being undertaken by government regarding the necessity and desirability of maintaining the national state of disaster to contain and manage the COVID-19 pandemic in the interest of promoting economic reconstruction and recovery. We must continue to encourage our communities to vaccinate and observe the wearing of masks and hand hygiene. On Russia and Ukraine, the NWC expressed deep concern regarding the escalation of the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. It reaffirmed the ANC's conviction that international relations should be underpinned by a commitment to development, democracy, human rights, peace and security, in line with the clarion call by the Freedom Charter that there shall be peace and friendship. It expressed its abhorrence at the suffering caused to ordinary people in every country that is involved, either directly or indirectly, in this conflict, and called upon progressive formations globally to ensure that any harm to civilians invites appropriate repercussions in line with the values of a humane, just, equitable, democratic, and free world. The NWC reiterated the call by President Ramaphosa that the UN Security Council should pursue a peaceful and diplomatic resolution of the conflict in line with the precepts of the UN Charter. On preparations for the 55th National Conference, the NWC received reports on preparations for the ANC's 55th National Conference scheduled for the 16th to the 20th of December 2022. This work is being led by the Treasurer General of the African National Congress, Comrade Paul Mashatile. The discussion papers for National Conference are being finalized for distribution to ANC structures and will be guided by the overarching priorities set by the 54th National Conference in 2017, namely organizational renewal and unity, restore the relationship between the ANC and the people, its integrity and role as agent for change and leader in society, radical socio-economic transformation, speed up economic transformation, land and agrarian reforms, developmental, participatory, ethical and effective governance, quality and universal basic services, social cohesion towards a truly non-sexist and non-racial society, and a better life for all South Africans. The NWC also received a report on the work of the ANC Electoral Committee, chaired by Comrade Khalima Motlanti. The Electoral Committee is empowered to make the rules for leadership and candidate selection in the ANC, propose candidate selection rules to the NEC and leadership selection rules to the NEC and the National Conference, propose incorporation of permanent rules for both processes in the constitution of the ANC, and to make rules for campaigning and the use of resources in campaigning for leadership and candidate positions in the African National Congress. According to the 55th National Conference roadmap, nomination for the NEC by branches will start in August 2022 after the National Policy Conference. The NWC noted progress with the establishment of the ANC Renewal Commission and received report from the national officials who were mandated by the NEC to constitute members of the commission. The commission will be responsible for making recommendations to the 55th National Conference on a Vision 2032, describing the desired state of the ANC as it approaches its 120th year of existence. The Commission will engage all ANC structures and cadres in discussion on the priorities and tasks of the movement for the decade ahead, and also encourage broader social formations, starting with alliance partners, to contribute to a debate on the role and place of the ANC in the fundamental transformation of society. On local government and candidate selection disputes, the NWC called upon ANC Electoral Committee to finalize outstanding appeals arising from the 2021 local government candidate selection process, and for these outcomes to be reported to ANC structures and communities in line with the commitments made by the organization. Violence in ANC structures or attacks on councillors. The NWC expressed its strongest condemnation of a number of incidences of violence in the activities of ANC structures, in particular in the Eastern Cape, Mpumalanga, and KwaZulu-Natal, as well as attacks on ANC councillors. The ANC national officials will be visiting 3 provinces in the near future. I'm sure you are all aware that starting from this previous weekend, members of the National Executive Committee, led by President Cyril Ramaphosa and our Deputy President David Mabuza, have already begun work to visit provinces as part of the rollout of our Letsema campaign, which effectively will be a 2-year-long program that takes us to the 2024 general elections. The NWC underscored the need to strengthen the capacity to deal decisively and expeditiously with disciplinary matters and any manifestation of violence in ANC structures. The NWC requested the NEC Subcommittee on Peace and Stability to be seized with these matters and the findings and recommendations contained in the report on the panel of experts in the July 2021 civil unrest, including the impact of internal ANC problems on the security and stability of the country. Establishment of provincial task teams. In terms of the ANC constitution, provincial executive committees hold office for 4 years. The current PEC of the ANC Eastern Cape Province was elected on the 29th September to the 1st of October 2017, and the PEC of the ANC in Mpumalanga Province was elected on the 13th to the 15th of December 2015. Accordingly, the terms of office of both PECs have expired. Therefore, the NWC, in conducting the current work of the ANC, decided that the PECs of the Eastern Cape and Mpumalanga Province should be dissolved and that provincial task teams be appointed in their place. The provincial task teams will fulfill the functions of the PEC and will be responsible, amongst others, for ensuring that provincial conferences are held to elect provincial executive committees. The National Working Committee, and this I must read so that it is understood, to also correct some who try and plant statements that are purported to be coming from ourselves here when they are not. The NWC noted the terms of office of a number of other structures, including the NEC of the ANC Women's League and the ANC National Youth Task Team, that they've all expired. It requested the Secretary General's office to report and make recommendations in this regard. So the Treasurer General of the ANC, as a person or responsible or charged with that responsibility by the National Executive Committee, is already doing that work, meeting with the leadership of the ANC Women's League and the ANC Youth League to be able to establish what needs to be done to assist them to effectively carry forward with the work of convening their own electoral conferences. We work well with the leagues of the ANC, and surely working together we will be able to deal with whatever challenges that might be there, to help them fast track the coordination of their own work and to make sure that those conferences are ultimately held. On the launch of the Mwalimu Julius Nyerere School of Leadership, the NWC welcomed the launch of the Mwalimu Julius Nyerere School of Leadership in Tanzania on the 23rd of February 2022. I think Comrade Besani was there as well, representing the National Executive Committee, and Comrade Nati, because we take the work of these schools quite serious in the ongoing work, in the ongoing political work that we are doing in the African National Congress. The school is a joint project between the liberation movements, the ANC in South Africa, Chama Cha Mapinduzi in Tanzania, SWAPO in Namibia, MPLA in Angola, Frelimo in Mozambique, ZANU-PF in Zimbabwe, and the Chinese Communist Party. The school, which can accommodate 250 students, is located in the region of Kibaha, Tanzania. The next round of courses will commence in March 2022. Already members of the ANC throughout the different regions and provinces have expressed their desire to be part of this school. We will be able to make sure that information is shared with those that would like to participate, and be able to then say this is how the ANC will facilitate their participation in the overall work of the Mwalimu Julius Nyerere School of Leadership. The next meeting of the National Executive Committee will take place on the 25th and the 27th of March 2022. Statement is issued by the African National Congress Treasurer General on behalf of the National Working Committee of the ANC that said this past Monday. Already the TG has confirmed sending out correspondences to the province of Mpumalanga and the province of the Eastern Cape, conveying decisions of the National Working Committee as it relates to their work, because some of them might have to convene their own conferences before the National Executive Committee sits, to make sure that there are no issues of legitimacy surrounding their own conferences. It's critical that these decisions are then conveyed so that structures that enjoy the authority to do the work could be able to carry forward with that. You would have seen that, our organization has become so litigious. So we have got to act to preserve the authority of structures of the organization and make sure that they can still fulfill their own responsibilities and obligations without being asked number of other questions that can effectively arise in the legal arena. So that's the statement of the National Working Committee. It outlines our decisions. We have seen a look-alike statement purporting to have been from ourselves here in the Julie House. Now, to help members of the media and structures of the ANC, statements of the ANC are issued officially on letterheads of the African National Congress, and they are distributed through our social media platforms, whether it's Twitter, it's Instagram, it's Facebook, and we even rubber stamp that by publishing our statement on the website of the ANC. So before members of the ANC and some of you in the media call the national spokesperson to check on the validity of statements, use your data wisely. Check on the website, check on Instagram, check on Twitter, check on Facebook. Then if you don't establish those similarities, then you will know that that is the work of some naughty ones around us who are trying to convey messages of their own which do not necessarily constitute positions of the organization. The ANC is capable to speak to the media and convey whatever decisions, difficult as it is. We've done it all the time. We are not shy to come to yourselves and put forward our own positions. We'll allow you to take a bite if there are issues that you might want clarity on. Yes, Mbali.
You've spoken at length about when you look at the Eastern Cape and Mpumalanga, the provinces which have been, of course, dissolved, and you're saying that these are all legal issues as the ANC, you're trying to protect yourself. But how can you assure some of your members who have also reached out to us, saying that when you take such decisions as the NWC, that there are no ulterior motives? You've been accused of being factionalist when it comes to disbanding the likes of the Northwest and the Free State. How can you say that this one is different? Can you assure your members that this one where you have disbanded Mpumalanga and Eastern Cape, that it is different?
Okay. Any other bite? Yes, I'm there.
Some kind of SABC. In essence, this is not a disbandment. In essence, the issues of Mpumalanga and the Eastern Cape is not a disbandment. It's just a conversion from a PEC to a provincial subsidy, because the very same individuals who were in those same PECs are the same PTTs. Was this squarely and purely on the basis of a legal warfare that was being mounted by some within the Mpumalanga province, who were threatening to take the upcoming provincial conference from the 11th to the 13th in the Mpumalanga region to vote?
Can come in, Bill.
This doesn't relate to the NWC meeting, but perhaps you can indulge me here. The State Capture Commission inquiry report yesterday was SASA, senior ANC officials, your former SG implicated in alleged corruption. Any position yet on the findings there that the ANC is going to be taking?
Okay, no, that's fine. I think Mbali's question and Samkelo are almost similar. I will deal with them in that way. Because you see, Samkelo, the ANC exists through a supreme law in the organization called the Constitution. Now, the Constitution of the ANC outlines how the organization establishes its structures. Tells you how you establish your branch executive committee, how you constitute your zonal or sub-regional structures, your regions, your PECs, and all of that. But the Constitution then goes further to then outline terms of offices attached to these structures of the African National Congress. Now, in the Constitution of the ANC, there is no term called conversion. We don't have that term. The Constitution of the ANC, even if those that you appoint to be in your provincial task team would have had an opportunity to serve in a democratically elected structures, at that point, they are not converted. They are appointed to now. Remember, a person who is appointed, you see, let's talk about yourself at the SABC. You are an appointee. You are appointed as a journalist. Now let's talk about me as the national spokesperson and a member. So first, as a member of the National Executive Committee of the ANC, I'm elected. I've emerged in this position through a democratic process. And that process is outlined by the constitution of the ANC, whereas your one is then governed by your HR processes. Different to being in a task team. Even when you are appointed, such appointment is allowed for or permitted by the constitution of the ANC. So perhaps if the question is that, Mara, we see similar faces in this task team. It's similar people who were in the PEC. But they are now fulfilling a new role. They are fulfilling a new role of an appointed structure. It's just that that appointed structure is given or apportioned or made to fulfill the responsibilities of the provincial executive committee. Mara, when you are appointed, Samkel, you are given a new role. You are no longer the same. That's why a convener is not a chairperson, is called a convener there. You don't become a chairperson. You know, there was once temptation here, even in the youth league. When we appointed structures, we always told those that convened our structures in provinces, when we were still in the youth league, that you are not a chairperson. When you are made a convener of the youth league in the province, you are not a chairperson. While you fulfill that role, but you are made convener because that's a task team. And the person who fulfills your day-to-day secretariat work is called a coordinator. Now, there's a careful way in which the ANC puts up these structures, but they are established as new structures. Now, to come to Mbani's question, how do we assure our structures that this is not just a balancing act? How can it be a balancing act? The mandate of structures has expired. Remember, at the time when structures were supposed to sit, some of them could not sit, not because they did not want to sit. They could not sit because conditions created by COVID effectively made the social space too thin. It was difficult to convene meetings during COVID in the manner that would have wanted to outside COVID conditions. Now, the social space has been freed. The work that is being done by the National Coronavirus Command Council has eased some of the pressures on meetings, the number of people that could gather and all of that. Now, when you look at those numbers, they now begin to allow you to open your organizational space as well, to allow for a free flow of political activity. Of course, it will have to still happen under conditions where people observe social distancing, they use masks and all of that. And we have already done it. We've tested it as the ANC. We went and did our 110th anniversary in Limpopo. The number we said will be at the stadium was exactly that number. In all our gatherings of the ANC, because we want to also be the leader in driving a vaccination drive. In all our activities of the ANC, we always have medical teams that use that space to also drive mass vaccination. I mean, I got my booster shot in the Eastern Cape over the weekend. And we do it in all events. So it's part of the things that we have to sign off. When we do a checklist to check if we've effectively fulfilled all the things we need in events, we'll tick, do we have a vaccination station? Do we have sanitizers? Are we able to achieve social distancing? So this norm is even carried forward to those conferences that need to sit. So we can assure you, we are not doing this because we want to fulfill some unknown program that can only be imagined by others. We are doing this because structures of the ANC, when they convene and preside over conferences, it should be that they've got authority to do so. So that we do not have issues that arise afterwards. Straight to your question around reports. Reports get to be issued now and then. Now you're talking about the Zondo Commission's report, volume 3. In our last NEC, we took a decision that we will have to establish a body within the National Executive Committee that has got the necessary expertise to be able to guide our overall organizational response to what is coming out. But it will be difficult for the ANC, even without studying the reports fully, just as they drop immediately. We want to have formulated an opinion there and there. The ANC will need the space to study all of this, allow the work that has got to be done by its very structures that it is setting up to look at this. And if the ANC deems it fit to invite cadres that might have been mentioned in some of those reports so that they could provide the organization with some clarity of sort. The organization then activates that. So we should look at it like that. I mean, these things need to be studied. There are legal implications. Some of our leaders, including our national chair, have already expressed the actions that they want to be taking, which actions are provided for in law to subject such report into judicial review. Because now what it does is that it makes matters of dealing with their merits and demerits sub judice once they enter that kind of a terrain, especially from ourselves as an organization. Okay? Some girl you heard, nominations are starting in August. Just as that is if you believe that you can. Oh, you're not available? No, I was going to say August is around the corner. You need to start. Okay, members of the media, it doesn't look like there's a lot today unless there's a follow-up.
Is Monday confirmed for number one?
Yeah. Monday is confirmed for the president. Meaning Mpumalanga. Yeah, but all other NEC members, Saturday we are in KZN, and then all other provinces will be doing them on Sunday. So we're going to be busy every weekend. We're going to be busy. This let's say my program, Comrade Mbalula is the head of elections, requires that we also sign attendance registers and confirm that we have attended this meeting. So missing them will put us in his bad books, so we can't afford to miss them. So our campaign for 2024 is in full steam. Okay, thank you very much, members of the media. Go back and correct the distortion, because there was a big distortion going out there on some statements that were made to look like they come from us when they were not issued by us. Thank you very much. We'll meet on the ground.
Which officer is going to be engaged over the weekend?
KZN over the weekend. Let me just check for you quickly.